Namaste, Pranam, Gita Dhyana. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva manusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshinim. O Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Arjuna. The ancient sage Vyasa included it in the Mahabharata. O Goddess, showerer of the nectar-like knowledge of non-dualism contained in your 18 chapters. O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Krishna Vandana. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. So our reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the 6th Adhyaya, Dhyana Yoga, and today we are going to get a lot of disturbance from this, there's some work going on in the adjacent apartment. So let us we'll take it as, another happening in this world. So we are going to read today the 28th Shloka. Yesterday we read the 27th Shloka where Sri Krishna told Arjuna that prashanta-manasam hena yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shanta-rajasam brahma-bhuta-kalmaṣhaḥ. Prashanta-manasam hena, likewise with the mind completely at rest, absolutely calm, serene, peaceful mind, with that mind, yoginam sukham uttamam upaiti, the yogi attains the paramashanti, uttamam sukham, the highest of the bliss comes to the yogi. The yogi attains that highest of the peace having calmed down his mind, prashanta manasam. And then Shanta-rajasam, having fulfilled his desires, having pacified that nature of the mind to enjoy those desires, having pacified all those passions, those desires, they also have been calmed down now. They also have been made quiet. No more raising your hood, oh desires, you have been nicely taken care of. Shanta-rajasam, the rajas, the quality of getting a person engaged in activities to fulfill those desires, that is rajas. So having satisfied that rajas, having pacified that rajas, now the yogi has become Brahma-bhuta. The little self has become one with the Supreme Self. And as a result, the person, the yogi, is akalmaṣhaḥ. No taint, no sin, no evil can ever get attached to such a person. He has gone into that state of going beyond evil, going beyond sin, in a sinless plane that yogi has entered. And Sri Ramakrishna had given that beautiful example that how the landlord, before entering visiting the house of a tenant, sends all the provisions in advance, so that when he goes there, the tenant can entertain him with all the niceties, which otherwise are not there in the tenant's house. He is a poor, humble fellow. He doesn't even have a chair in his home, in that house, for the landlord to come and sit. So the landlord sends everything. And likewise, Sri Ramakrishna says, the Lord sees to it that this person's, this yogi's rajas is made shanta. Shanta rajasam. That the nature of getting engaged in the activities to enjoy those pleasures. And again, what kind of pleasures? Sri Ramakrishna has already told us. In commenting, I mean, in his example that was quoted in the 26th Shloka, the innocent and harmless desires, not the obnoxious desires, not the desires which are going to pull him down from the path of illumination. Not those desires, those tiny small desires. Oh, let me eat a sweet, let me eat ice cream, let me read this wonderful book on Advaita Vedanta. Those kind of desires. The harmless, innocent and elevating desires. So the Lord himself makes all the provision of fulfilling that rajas. And having made that rajas shanta, having made his mind calm, prashanta manasam, then the yogi gets into the stage of brahma-bhuta, the lower self meeting the higher self, supreme self, and that results in sukham uttam, the eternal bliss, eternal pleasure, eternal joy, the divine joy. So that is what the yogi gets into during the meditation, and thereby gets away from all the sins, all the evils, all the taints that are otherwise going to jump on his neck if he were to do all those displeasurable acts. So instead, Sri Krishna says, follow this path of meditation and reach the ultimate goal of yoga. Yoga is what? This lower self meeting the supreme self. Now further Sri Krishna talks on the same thing, on the same theme, further emphasizing the highness, the greatest advantage that a yogi can attain through getting into this act of meditation. Yuñjann evaṁ sadātmānaṁ yogi vigata-kalmaṣhaḥ sukhena brahma-sansparśham atyantaṁ sukham aśhnute. The ultimate end of meditation is getting into that blissful state. The only state of bliss which is not tainted by pain, which is not tainted by misery, which is not accompanied by sorrows and grief. That is only one state of attaining that peace, that bliss, that anandam, that sukham, and that is the yoga of little self with the supreme self through dhyana, through meditation. Now Sri Krishna says, yuñjann evaṁ sadātmānaṁ. Yuñjann is practicing the yoga. Practicing yoga, evaṁ, this yoga, this dhyana yoga. Practicing this dhyana yoga, thus practicing this dhyana yoga, sada, always. It is not that once in a while that Sri Krishna had also told us in a previous shloka, that it has to be done with great determination, not as per the whims and fancies of our mind and our heart. No, it has to be done with the purpose of constancy, with full determination. Sada atmanam. This yoga of atmas, this yoga of the lower self with the higher self, with the supreme self, the jivatman with the paramatman, has to be performed meticulously, tirelessly, with a purpose of constancy, with determination. And then what happens? Yogi vigata-kalmaṣhaḥ. Again the kalmaṣhaḥ, that element of sinlessness, Krishna again and again is bringing in. In the previous shlok, he used that term of akalmaṣhaḥ. He becomes sinless. Now it is vigata-kalmaṣhaḥ. Vigata-kalmaṣhaḥ is sins it is freed from sin. It is the yogi is totally separated from the sin. There is no sin attached to him. Again, the idea of being sinless, pious, holy, purest of the pure. And that is what happens when the yogi reaches this stage of yoga, of atmanam, sada, always. Sukhena brahma-sansparśham. Sukhena. Sukhena is easily, without any extra efforts. All the effort has to be done in terms of putting that restless, chanchal, asthira mind onto the self. That is the effort, yes. But once having done that, then the process of becoming sinless is sukhena, is very easy, is a cakewalk then. Sukhena brahma-sansparśham. Brahma-sansparśham is caused by contact with the Brahman. That is what happens in the yoga. The lower self becoming one with the supreme self, becoming one with the Brahman. Brahma-sansparśham. Sparsha is touch. Having come in contact with the Brahman, that process becomes so easy. Sukhena brahma-sansparśham. He doesn't have to make any extra effort after that. The only effort required, put the mind. You have to discipline the mind. We have to discipline the mind using that intellect, using the discriminative faculty, and instead of allowing the mind to going outward, bring it in and put it on the self, and it will get into that situation. It will get into that position of touching the Brahman. Brahma-sansparśham. Atyantaṁ sukham aśhnute. And that will result in the infinite bliss to be enjoyed. Sukham aśhnute. Atyantaṁ. It is not a tiny piece of a happiness or a bliss. It is not just a fickle bliss. No. Atyantaṁ. Extremely supreme bliss to be enjoyed. Constantly engaging the mind this way, by the way that Sri Krishna has taught us how to put this mind onto the self. So, thus, constantly engaging the mind on the self, the yogi who has put away sin, the yogi who has freed himself from the sin, who has vigata-kalmaṣhaḥ, attains with ease the infinite bliss of contact with the Brahman. That contact with the Brahman is infinitely with bliss. That is the ultimate joy, and that is attained with such great ease. That is what Sri Krishna, he is telling, okay, this is what you are going to get in the process of Dhyana Yoga. You want, normally whenever we do anything, we look for what is it there for me. So Sri Krishna tells here, this is what is there for you. If you get into this habit, if you discipline yourself of performing Dhyana Yoga, of performing meditation, of meditating on the self that is inside you, of disciplining your mind and putting that mind on the self, this is what you will get. That sukham aśhnute, vigata-kalmaṣhaḥ. What else do you want? Now, mythology has it that there is a such thing as a philosopher's stone, contact with which converts base metal into gold. Now there is a parasmani, that philosopher's stone. There is a mythological thing. If we touch anything with that philosopher's stone, with the parasmani, it turns into gold. But this is allegorical statement. This is just an example. This is a wishful thinking kind of, that there is something like parasmani. You touch any metal with that and it turns into gold. But Brahman is the real philosopher's stone. This Satchidananda, that is the real philosopher's stone. And when the knowledge of Satchidananda touches someone, touches even the dullest of the persons, there is enlightenment, there is illumination. The person is blessed with Atma Dhyana. It is not easily accessible to all, but whosoever gets at it becomes transformed. Not at all easy. Like we know, Sri Krishna also knows that is not at all easy. Slowly, gradually we have to do it. Shanaihi, Shanaihi, Upurati, he had told us. Slowly, gradually we have to, determinedly we have to do it. It is not that we sit for meditation and all of a sudden we get our contact established with the Brahman and hey, hi, how are you? Not like that. We have to sit maybe ages and ages, life after life. But then a stage comes when the moment the lower self finds this Brahman, finds who that Atman really is. Who am I? The moment he realizes this, there is that touch of the parasmani, touch of the philosopher's stone, and whichever metal this may be, this little I may be, it gets transformed into gold. It gets transformed into the Supreme Brahman with the touch of that Supreme Brahman. It is not easily accessible to all, but whosoever gets at it becomes transformed. Ordinary souls who are base become admirable ones after their contact with Brahman. And then we know, I mean, the stories of Valmiki, Rishi Valmiki, what a dreaded person he was before becoming Valmiki. He was a highwayman, a robber, a killer, and then that enlightenment, and just got transformed from that lowest form of a human being, as good as an animal, to the most evolved, illumined soul, which gave Ramayana to the whole world. So that is what happens once this lower self gets an insight into the Supreme Self, the Brahman. They become such people, the ordinary people having come in contact with the Brahman, they become heir to the infinite bliss. Yes, that is what happens. Sukham aśhnute. They easily get into that blissful mode. And vigata-kalmaṣhaḥ. No taint, no sin, no evil remains attached with them. They are free from that. So that is what Sri Krishna's teaching in the 28th Shloka as to what we are going to get in the process of doing the meditation. And what Sri Ramakrishna has to say on this? Sri Ramakrishna says, as immersed vessel is permeated by water inside as well as outside, the soul immersed in Ishvara cognizes pure consciousness everywhere. We take a pot to a riverside, to a river, or to a well, or to a pond, and put it in water. We fill it in water and dip it in. Now what happens? That pot, that vessel is filled with water. Water is there inside as well as all around. And Sri Ramakrishna says this is what happens when the yogi, the spiritual aspirant performing meditation, comes to that state of meeting one-to-one with the Brahman. that tiny little self of his, which is dwelling inside this body, when realizes its oneness with the Brahman. The water is there inside the pot as well as outside the pot, and it is the same water, mind you. That is what Sri Ramakrishna wants to hint. It is the same water that is inside the pot and outside the pot. It is all water, water, water everywhere, the same water. So the soul immersed in Ishvara cognizes pure consciousness everywhere, inside and outside. So that is the beauty of understanding the self, the focusing the mind on the self. This is the end result that we get, and Sri Ramakrishna as well as Sri Krishna, they have once again confirmed this fact that yes, this is what happens when you get into that meditative state. So this is the 28th shloka of the Dhyana Yoga we have read today. That is our reading of the 6th adhyaya of the Dhyana Yoga of Srimad Bhagavad Gita for the day. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Ma. Jai Swami.